North East Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETsn.live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the NETsn weekly wrap-up show, Week 6. It's Brett Swinney alongside Corey Marshall and Vincent Johnson. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's happening?
I know
Basketball season started.
Ooh, yes, it is. Exciting times. Lots of games coming. Corey's working on a schedule. I'm just chomping at the bits to get to see all these good games we're going to get to cover this season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But guys, we still got a lot of football to talk about this coming up few weeks, man. This week, probably the most loaded games, overall number of games in 1 week.
Probably going to some districts.
I mean, it's getting some tough ones. And we have a special guest tonight. We're going to introduce him in just a second, but I'd like to thank LoneStarGridiron.com, Chris, Terry, and Grant. I'd like to give them a shout out tonight. If you're not following us, go follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NETsnLive. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go like all our videos, youtube.com/NETsnLive. Also at NETsn_live at Twitter. Go check out our store. You have it. This nice hat available. Hopefully some other things are coming down the pipe. Hopefully we're working on that too. Get some more gear. Also, check out our newest district standings page on our website, netsn.live/district standings, for all your updated district standings. This is the time of year that you need to go check those out, see where your team is falling, and see if you're got a chance to make the playoffs. And so, speaking of playoffs and big games, we've got somebody here to talk about his coverage area in a huge game this week with Winsboro and Mount Vernon. We'll bring on sports director at KMU 99.9 FM, Kyle Owens.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome back. Welcome back. Glad to have you back this year, Kyle. And tell everybody, for those that don't know, what area you cover and teams and all that. You got a big region that you're covering for football.
Yeah, it's a pretty big area. We cover 4A, 3A, 2A, and even down to 1A. We kind of go as far east as Gladewater, as far west as Wills Point, up north as far past Lake Fork to the Yantis area, and then we kind of stay above I-20. We stop at Lindale. So we cover all those schools in between. You're talking about your Lindells, Vans, Wills Points, Cantons, Winsboro, Mineola, Quitman, Edgewood, Grand Saline, that whole little area right there. And it's I know you were talking about Corey making the basketball schedule. I feel for you, because making a schedule with 19 teams and trying to get them all in, that's tough. Yeah. So it's definitely a task, but I enjoy it, man. We got some of the best athletes, I think, in East Texas, and it's a joy to get to cover them week in and week out.
Yeah, no, it's you named some of those teams, and there's some pretty talented teams in that little patch that you just named. Um, let's start off by who in that area do you think has a chance to make a run so far? The ones that you've seen, or maybe you have some colleagues that's seen them play. I know we'll talk about the big game here in a minute, but other than the Mount Vernon Winsboro, we know those two are state ranked. Big matchup this week. But what other teams do you think that's got a chance to make a run?
I mean, I've been really impressed with Grand Saline here lately, and I know that's not on everybody's radar,
Right.
but Grand Saline's playing some really good football. They just beat an Edgewood team that was previously undefeated.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a rivalry game, but I mean, Grand Saline played a really good game. They've been playing some really good football lately. I don't know about a deep run for Grand Saline, but I do think they'll make the playoff. I'll tell you this. Here's a prediction I got. They might win the district. They might win the district if they.
West Russ will be a tough one.
Yeah, it will.
I got to see them play ARP a few weeks ago. Chapel Hill had a bye. I got to go sideline pass and kind of got to see some of that. Now ARP gave West Russ trouble. It was tied 35-35 late, kind of in the third quarter, where West Russ just kind of took off. The quarterback Mata is impressive for West Russ. I mean, he just took over the game. I think he had 7 touchdowns. I think he had touched all touchdowns. He had 4 passing and 3 rushing. I think he was our player of the week. I mean, and so
I don't think they'll like if they beat Edgewood. I think they probably have the district covered because Edgewood was like blasting everybody.
Well,
you think, I don't know. West Russ going to be a good one.
They were.
Look, Grand Saline's got ARP this week in ARP for ARP's homecoming. If Grand Saline beats ARP, watch out. Because then I'm not. I mean, West Rusk is a very good team. You're right. Mata over there is fantastic.
Put Grand Saline as I wouldn't have put that as their what's the name game. I wouldn't have done
their homecoming.
Their homecoming, yeah. I wouldn't have done that.
You know,
you want homecoming to be. You want it to go easy. So I just,
well,
you don't want no closer.
In years past, that has been an easy game. I mean, Grand Saline hasn't. These past couple of years, it hasn't been the greatest team.
Same Grand Saline since what?
They may not be the homecoming game next year.
You're probably right.
It won't be because they'll flip. It'll be in Grand Saline. They'll probably be Winona. Will be the homecoming game next year.
Probably, but
Art beat them pretty bad last week.
I think Grand Saline's got a good team. They're obviously one of them. I know we're going to talk about Winsboro. I think Winsboro, probably out of all the teams in our area, I would say that we cover the 19 schools we cover. I would say Winsboro probably has the best chance to go the deepest. I think they are extremely good this year. Last year they had a couple of close games. They missed the playoffs by 2 points. Essentially, they lost to Bonham by 2 points and missed out on the playoffs. They were the best, in my opinion. They were the best team left out of the playoffs last season. So. I think they came in this year. Coach Finney got them riled up, maybe a little chip on their shoulder, and they are taking no prisoners this season. They're laying it on teams.
Some scores. I looked at the scores and they're blowing people out now. And this game coming up between Mount Vernon now,
East Texas, so they should be.
Yeah, Mount Vernon now they're coming off. They lost their starting quarterback a few weeks ago, so I think they finally have put the young guy in it, and Derek is here. He's our Mount Vernon expert. Derek, welcome tonight. We got we have Eddie here as well. Shout out to Eddie. We'll talk Pleasant Grove here. That's going to be a good one to talk about here, Eddie, tonight. So Eddie out from Pleasant Grove. His son plays on the team. So shout out to them. See, anybody else is here. We want to give them a shout out. I think it's just Eddie and Derek have talked so far, but. Anyway, so that game, I think, and from the people that I've talked to, we had Terry Bennett on the show last week from the sideline to sideline. They're part of our Lone Star Gridiron family. And he said that the quarterback, if they had the quarterback, he was thinking that Mount Vernon state championship or, now without the quarterback, they're still really good.
Yeah.
But it's just they're losing that dimension, and it's going to be a matter of can the youngster come in and be a big enough difference and not make mistakes, and especially against a team like Winsboro that's putting up gaudy numbers. I mean, and of course, you had Mount Vernon last week put up 68 points or something like that. I mean,
that was a light night for him.
I would love to be, if I wasn't doing a game this week, that's the game I would want to be at. Those little small
100%.
school rivalry games are just like,
Not a seat in the house.
yeah, it's going to be packed. You're going to have people standing room only, jammed in the press box at the little stadium. I mean, it's going to be crazy. Do y'all have that game this week?
No, we're not covering it. We're not covering it this week, but I did see Mount Vernon a couple of weeks ago against Mineola, and I know the score was 42-25, but that game was a lot closer.
How was the Pendergrass kid? He was one of the kids that was player of the game. Does he play quarterback like part of the time? He has a lot. Like one week, we had him. He was our player of the week, and he had like 10 completions or something, and then he had rushes and he received receiving yards.
He's not supposed to be. The quarterback's been hurt, so
okay.
Their starting quarterback has been hurt, so he's been forced into playing quarterback. But Dawson, I mean, he's committed to Baylor already, so next year he'll be a Baylor Bear. He is one of those guys. He's smart too, I'll tell you, because he was playing quarterback against Mount Vernon, and what made it interesting is Mount Vernon's Braden Bennett was out, and Mineola's starting quarterback was out, so it was both kind of wildcat offenses all night. But it would, in my opinion, it made it more fun because it put the ball in the best athlete's hands each time. I mean, the 1-2 punch for Mount Vernon with Mackenzie McGill and Jaden Horton, phenomenal. I mean, Jaden Horton is one of the slipperiest players in East Texas. He is hard to bring down, and then Mackenzie McGill will just run over you. And so it's their 1-2 punch that they have, and they run that up-tempo offense, so they don't get tired, you get tired. And by the fourth quarter, that's why I'm saying the score was not indicative of how close the game was, because Mineola played them tough. But fourth quarter, they got worn down. The defense got worn down, and McGill and Horton were able to just hit some holes and make some big plays. But that game had probably the best athletes on the field that I've seen this season. Dawson is phenomenal. I think the problem with Dawson is he's used a lot in Mineola. Yeah. I think if they had somebody else there that could
I was going to say that, like, look at his carries. Like, he carried the ball like 175 times, so maybe more than that.
Don't want to burn him out.
Yeah.
If you're Baylor, you're like, oh my gosh, please don't get him hurt. I mean, if he's carrying that much, and he plays defense too, so
Yeah, and lately he hasn't been playing a lot of defense because he's been used so much on offense, which I also think is hurting Mineola's defense because he's a phenomenal player on both sides. So I would think if Mineola, and when their quarterback comes back, TJ Moreland, when he comes back, he's a good quarterback, and they have some athletes on the outside too. They're a more complete team when they're completely healthy. They've just been hit by the injury bug. I mean, every team has. You can't use that as an excuse. But I'm going to the Mount Vernon Winsboro game. That McGill and Horton combo, I personally haven't seen Winsboro this year, but they're going to have to find a way to slow down Horton and McGill. It could be a basketball game. It could be a 60-something, 50-something game. Defense optional. I mean,
hey, I love those shootouts. Those are my favorite. Give me some offense any day. I know defense is, they're always talking about defense. Give me some offense. Give me 63, 60. Give me, it's same way in basketball. I want some offense.
Light up stop eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still going to come down to defense. Whoever can stop the other one, but I love the shootouts.
Defense wins championships no matter what.
We got some insight from TJ here.
Yeah.
So Dawson is a dude. He can play any position on the field.
What's up, Coach Riley? I love Coach Riley, man.
That's right, because Riley was in Mineola, so I forget that. To Coach Riley's point, Dawson was throwing good balls. Like he was spirals, he was putting it out there. Sometimes he would overthrow the receiver a little too much on it, but yeah, Dawson is an athlete that can play anywhere on the field, and he is a one of a kind athlete. Baylor's getting a good one next year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do at the next level, and maybe not having to play
as many snaps and be fresh.
TJ says,
Just
"What's
play
up?"
this
So that's coming to you, here, Kyle.
Look, fun fact about Coach Riley. He was obviously the girls basketball coach in Mineola when they were making deep runs with Sabria Dean and that crew. And I remember in Princeton, they beat, I believe it was Howe on Howe missed a last second shot or something like that to go to the regional tournament. And interviewing Coach Riley after the game, he's got more energy than any coach I think I've ever met.
He didn't do a bar interview. Can't wait.
No, he didn't do that.
All right, you got to bring that up.
Okay, so we're gonna roll into first off, let's get Derek's comment here. He's got some. So this will be the toughest test for both teams. If we can stop the pass game of winning, we will win. And like I said, Derek's a Mount Vernon guy. So,
and that's crazy to think that Winsboro is throwing the ball around like they are. Kyler Finney. Now this stats were going into last week, so I don't have last week's stats, but leading East Texas in passing over 2,000 yards passing through 5 games, 26 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like
he's taking care of the ball too.
The Winsboro teams that I knew were run, and then hit a pass once or twice. But this Winsboro team is throwing it all over the field. And
when I think Winsboro, I think basketball. I don't think football.
Yeah,
I mean, I think girls basketball.
I don't think nobody thinks football when they think about.
They were good
like
back.
that.
They were good way back when in football. They had about a good 8-year window where they were really good in football.
Yeah,
but to me, them throwing the ball just shows the kind of the evolution of this offense and what Coach Finney's doing, using the athletes you got. I mean, you got athletes all over the field. Spread it around. Let them play. I do have a stat for you.
Okay.
So Mount Vernon and Winsboro have played every year since 2004. That's as far back as my little record book went, since 2004. Mount Vernon's won 13 out of 18 games over Winsboro. And Winsboro won in 2020, 30-28. But before that, Mount Vernon won 6 in a row from 2014 to 2019. And then they won last year by 20, did Mount Vernon. So, look, it's a rivalry game. These schools are separated by like 10 miles. So you could throw the records out of the window, honestly.
Here's one for you. He's second in Texas in passing yards, according to Derek Del Rio. Well, that doesn't surprise me with those numbers. I mean,
There's a funny statistic. There's a funny statistic too. As you said, you mentioned 2004. Chapel Hill's got a rivalry game coming up. I dare to say we haven't played this team since about 2003.
It's been 23 years, Corey.
Yeah, 23 years. Yeah.
Jacksonville, Chapel Hill have not played in football in 23 years.
That's crazy.
So
And
speaking of that district, we're going to talk about. There's going to be another big game that you kind of right on the border there, Lindale and Kilgore.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that one?
So we saw Lindale play Van earlier this year. We were at that game. By the way, going back to your homecoming point, Van had Lindale as Van's homecoming.
Oh,
that wasn't by choice necessarily. I have a friend at the Van Zant News, and he told me that Van schedules their homecoming game for the last non-district game. Doesn't matter who it is, and it just so happened to be Lindale. But yeah, that Van Lindale game, Lindale was up, I want to say by like 2 touchdowns at halftime, kind of dominated the whole first half. And then second half, Van held on to the ball. I want to say out of a 12-minute third quarter, probably 10 minutes of that quarter, kept it away from Lindale, came back, and it ended up being Seth Baggett from Lindale kicked a game-winning field goal. So it was a really good game. What impresses me about Lindale, it's almost similar to a couple years ago when they had Jordan Jenkins, that run-heavy offense. They're kind of back to that because they have an enormous offensive line. Yeah. But it's not just one running back this time. You got a couple of different running backs, kind of a thunder and lightning punch, kind of a heavier running back, and then a more.
Does the quarterback run this time? I know they had the quarterback that ran over the past couple of years. Can't think of the kid's name.
Sam Peterson?
Peterson, yes. And he was a pretty good runner. He wasn't especially fast, but he knew where to run behind the big boys up front, and he was very efficient when he ran the ball.
Yeah, Cliff Thurman.
So I just wonder if they had if the quarterback was a runner, or they mostly handing the ball off to the guys behind him.
Well, Clint Thurman's the quarterback now. He was the JV quarterback last year, and he's a good quarterback. I mean, he makes some good throws, and he offsets that run game. I don't think he'll beat you through the air, necessarily. If he had to throw it 40 times a game, I don't think that's a good formula for Lindell. But as much as Lindell is successful at running the football, he throws it just enough to keep you honest, where you can't just overload the box to stop the run. Kind of like you could overload the box with Jordan and try and shut down Jordan. And look at Argyle. Argyle's got some great athletes over there, but they were able to shut down Jordan in that state game. So I think it's a little different formula for Lindell this year. They got a couple of backs that can run, and that offensive line is huge, and the defense is playing really good football right now. That Lindell-Kilgore game this week, last year it was a shootout. It was one of your games, Brett. It was one of those high-scoring games. I don't think it'll be like that again this year. I honestly think Lindell will probably win by a touchdown. I think it'll be a very close game, or maybe a field goal. I think it'll be a one-possession game, but I think Lindell will come out on top, which will set up another huge game the following week for Lindell when they take on the Chapel Hill Bulldogs.
Don't give me. You're going to start making me nervous now, Kyle.
I kind of laugh
about
at
next
that.
week's.
We kind of laugh at that a little bit because we were always talking about. I know Vince and I were talking about it too. It's like ball control. Lindell's not going. They're not going to give up a lead, especially if you're running the football well. It's part of the strategy. We're going to play it safe. I'm afraid of my quarterback. I'm not saying I'm afraid of my quarterback making mistakes, but he's a young quarterback. I'm pretty sure he's probably a junior. You know what I'm saying? And maybe he was a sophomore. I don't want him throwing the ball 25 times a game. I'm going to put him on Jimmy G status. Like, listen, we're going to start. I don't want you to throw the ball that much.
Jimmy G, this guy.
You got to bring up
all
Jimmy
of a sudden
G.
he a Jimmy G.
We're going to run the football, control the clock, and we're going to beat you in the trenches. We got a massive offensive line, and we're going to control the game. That's a good game plan. But, Jimmy G's not great.
We're not talking about Jimmy G. We got a split this week. We got
a good analogy.
Okay, so give you the background, Kyle. If you didn't know,
that was awful.
Corey is a 49er fan, and he hates Jimmy G.
Why?
Jimmy G.
See, here we go. He's in mourning because
he got a love-hate relationship with Jimmy G. When Jimmy G is hot, he always bragging about it. When he get cold, he swears up and down Jimmy G is the worst quarterback in the league. Like
right on.
It's the same way how people treat Dak. When they winning, it's like ain't nobody saying nothing. But the moment they lose a game, it's like, nah, we got to get rid of him. He makes too much money.
Jimmy G doesn't extend plays, and he throws picks when he's nervous. I don't like it. That's when he gets flushed out the pocket, he's going to throw a pick. He does. It's proven.
Man,
we got company. I'm not finna argue.
Don't hold back on my behalf. Go ahead.
I'm not finna do this with you today. Let's just get in and get out. Let's see. I don't want to hear all the extra.
Well, speaking of extra, since Kyle missed it, I'm gonna bring back a special guest here, and the special guest is here with me, and I need to introduce him to Kyle. So let me introduce my special guest here.
And ladies and gentlemen, we kick the night off with the man who has been a world champion for 678 days. The head of the table, the king of the bloodline, the tribal chief. And a deafening ovation.
welcome the undisputed NETsn Pick'em champ, Greg Swinney.
Of all time, and he could very well be.
So
We
just
the
so
ones.
just so you know, we the ones. Just so you know, the Pick'em champ is here, Kyle. He is here. We'll talk about that here in just a minute.
Look at my
yeah. So
That's my boy. I'm a Roman Reigns fan. Look, if I would have known that beforehand, I would have worn my head of the table or acknowledge me shirt that I got.
Yeah. So the belt here, I dominated the Pick'ems last year, both basketball and football. So I bought myself a belt. Invited myself onto the show.
You bought yourself a belt. So
it's the NETsn championship belt.
Right.
Now,
you shouldn't have had to buy it.
Corey and Vince have a chance at it if they can somehow come back and overtake my lead. But right now, it's looking like the Pick'em champ he's still in front.
My picks are for entertainment.
Here we go. How many times we got? Let's talk about this, Vince. Vince is going to agree with me on this one because Corey's like, "Oh, they're in for entertainment. Oh, I take long shots. Oh, I got this." Oh, but then when he picks a game correctly, I knew that one. I called it. Vince is going to back me up on this. He knows it happens. Go ahead.
I told Corey I'm not for his shenanigans tonight. He know he wrong. He know he.
I'm gonna pick against Argyle until they lose 4 times in a row. It finally did. You picked them 4 weeks in a row.
You sacrificed the whole season
just for one game.
For one
game.
So brag.
One L was worth it. That one L was worth it.
That's a awesome intro, though, man. That's awesome. We the ones.
Yes. I'm trying to get some Rumble tickets. I want to go to the Rumble
Dude,
here.
Me too. I was thinking about. I was just talking to my buddy. By the way, my buddy Jeremy that does games with me on Friday. He texted me. He's watching. He said, "We the ones." So
all right. Hey, Jeremy, that's right.
We went to WrestleMania this past year.
Oh, I'm jealous. Don't talk about that. I'm jealous. I wanted to go. So maybe we need to talk about this off air about maybe Royal Rumble. Dude, I try to get these guys to go, but
come on, guys. It'd be a good time.
I went in 2017. Vince went with me. We went when it was in San Antonio.
It was dope then. I have a love-hate relationship with wrestling. I get involved and then I fall off and then I get involved.
It's on the ups right now. It's on the ups.
Look,
it's
new
getting
management.
better.
Vince McMahon's gone. It's a Triple H product now. We're good, man. It's getting better.
I might come back around to it. I'm not gonna say I'm done with it. I just ain't came back around yet. That's all.
Came back around to it.
That's all right. Well, Kyle, I appreciate you joining us tonight, man. It's good to have you on. Maybe we'll have to have you on again sometime. Man. We'll talk about some other stuff maybe we got going on with Kyle. But anything you want to close with? You got a Twitter handle you want to have people to follow you?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter. It's very simple. It's at the Kyle Owens. I don't want to make sure nobody else gets confused with that. It's at the Kyle Owens on Twitter. If you want to check out, I know, look, y'all gonna be doing a game Friday, but if y'all's game ends early and you want to check out another game, we're gonna be in Emory this Friday night for the Reigns Wildcats and the Commerce Tigers. So kickoff 7:30. Pre-game show will be at 7. You can listen on 99.9 KMOO, the KMOO Country app, and then if you follow me on Twitter. I post our audio highlights on Twitter, and I do a little TikTok at the game, kind of behind the scenes stuff that I post on there as well. So awesome. Lots of social media stuff out there.
Oh, look, Derek too. Triple H is bringing it back. He's with us.
See,
it is Derek. It is Derek.
Well, I don't disagree. All
right. Well, Kyle, we appreciate you coming on tonight, and good luck at your game Friday night, and we'll catch you. We'll catch you again real soon here.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all having me. Y'all have a good show.
All right.
Oh, for
All right,
Thanks,
sure.
man.
sir.
Thank you. Take it easy.
We'll be right back for more weekly wrap-up show.
Too late to get to this good-looking winner. Uncle Mo. Mo, he demolished the field. He won by 15 lengths. He won by more than that.
Uncle Mo's player of the week, fellas. That's going to go to Hallsville quarterback Jace Mosley and their big win over Marshall this week. Jace went 20-30 for 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, carried the ball 13 times for 132 yards and a touchdown in a come-from-behind win at the end of the game over Marshall. Corey, over your Marshall.
Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
So
Marshall.
shout out to Jace Mosley. That was a huge game. Guys, there was some good games last week. We know had a lot of teams that were off on bye. So we had some good games. There were some that, were a little lopsided. We had the weird situation that we didn't actually have a game, or I didn't cover a game this week. I got to go enjoy watching Chapel Hill. We had the game on NETsn.live this week as Chapel Hill picked up the win over Palestine, got their district season underway at 1-1. We'll kind of go over some of the picks this week, or for last week here. Only one person this week picked the first game one. Grand Saline over Edgewood. Shout out to our newest Pick'em champ of the week. He's actually a new picker. So welcome to Robert Wayne Robertson this week. He got 8 out of 10. Him and Vince tied at 8. So shout out to him and Vince. Y'all got the
I can't be by myself.
No.
He was due. He showed up at the right time.
That was the game. That was the difference right there with he got Grand Saline. Everybody else had Edgewood, and that was kind of the shocker. And Kyle talked about it, that Grand Saline's got a chance to do some damage there in that district. Could come down to them in West Rusk. The next one, we all had Wascom as they picked up the win. So everyone got that one correct. Game 3 was the Marshall Hallsville game. And this was an upset one as far as the picks go. And that's another one. That's the game that got Vince there, is he picked Hallsville. He was the only one that picked Hallsville in that one. Good job, Vince.
I can't keep doing this with Hallsville, man. Like, they killing me.
Well, you picked them. They won for you this week.
No, I mean,
they just won it for you.
So here's the thing with Hallsville. Like, they started out so good, right? And then they had this little spurt here where they just was like they seemed like they were dominating at one point. And the way I looked at them is the way I look at people like Winsboro and stuff now. And then they got tripped up a couple of weeks back. And I was like, okay, all right, no, it's okay. Do one game, but then the next game it happened again. And I was like, and then they got this one. And this one, wasn't this one kind of a right at the end there?
It was back and forth.
And so
I
like
actually had the game really going.
There. Go ahead. But I was just sitting there on the edge of my seat. And at one point I thought they lost. Because the score didn't update.
Yeah, I was watching the game. It was actually streamed on Marshall's page. And I had it on while we were doing the Wide Right Scoreboard show with your boy CM right here in the middle. We were all on, and I had that game going, and it was back and forth the entire game. One of the better games of the night that I had on, and Hallsville just had. I think honestly, they just got the ball last, and Marshall just ran out of time.
It was one of those things where I was just like I was literally sitting there thinking, like, I can't keep doing this with Hallsville. I was like, man, they killing me, man, because this is supposed to be cake. And then another thing is that now it makes me listen to what Corey talking about with Marshall. Is Marshall really that good? Be quiet, Corey. I can hear you.
Okay, he's bragging. He's bragging with that face he's looking at. I can see it.
I can hear you. Be quiet.
This is Corey right here. He's like, I've been.
So that's what I mean. Like, I was so I was so irritated with that game, and I was just like, I think I'm finna just put Hallsville away. I can't keep picking them, and these games are gonna come down to the wire. I was like, nah, I can't do it.
It
I'm
said
just
the
gonna go with
Hallsville
that
somebody else.
game was going to be a big game. I said I picked that game was going to be a big game either way it goes. The both teams were both
It
tied,
turned out to be a game that I didn't think
and
was gonna be that close.
yeah, it had to be close. They deserved it because both teams, like I said, it's one of those. If you win the game, your season's turned. You lose a game, it could be the end of your season, so to speak.
Yeah.
This is the game
Yeah.
you had to win. It's that middle of the road.
Well,
pack
that
you had to win.
district is all messed
Wide
up
open.
now. I mean, it's
It's wide
like
open.
you got White House. We thought they were going to be, and they lose to the bottom feeders of Nacogdoches, and they were like, okay, well maybe Nacogdoches can do in the wellness. Well, then they lose to Pine Tree that hadn't won a game. You've got a bunch of teams, and I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think of the district. So I think
Texas High is going to win the district.
Well, we know that. We know that. We know Texas High, but I'm talking about
it's
the
hard
playoffs.
to figure out. Like, it's hard to figure out if these teams are good and just having bad weeks, or are they really just being disguised because they've been playing a bunch of bad teams.
These teams are
like you don't know, And all we know is that the Winsboros and the Carthages and those teams are all consistent, and it's easy to pick them. I'll be shocked when one of them fall off. But when we talk about NAC and Pine Tree and all of the other teams, it just you don't know. You have no idea.
Eddie says that is a horrible district.
I won't doubt it.
I mean, overall, minus
who's
the,
all in there? It's
Nacogdoches, Hallsville,
Texas High.
Marshall.
You know where you can find that? You can find the district standings on our website, Vince. NETsn.live/district standings. You want to go check those out and see where everybody stands.
Plug that in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
Let's move on to the game 4. We got Lindale and Athens. Vince decided to finally jump off the Athens train. The ship was sinking. He jumped off just in time.
But again, let's be clear. They did have some injuries. They did have some injuries, bro. Like they had injuries. It's over.
Vince, if you were a salesman, man, you were selling Athens so good. You had some people in some nice cars.
I hope
you some good commission.
I need y'all to step up, baby, because they disrespecting y'all.
Vince 3 weeks ago. I'm telling you.
I got some inside information.
Inside information. That's what I'm telling you. I'm like, okay, hype it up. All right, okay.
The next time I give y'all some information, y'all okay. That's the last time.
I don't think Corey's buying any more of your information.
You just can't be so excited about it. If you're not enthusiastic about the information, I'm probably gonna go with it. If Vince is probably like, you know what, I heard they all right. Okay.
They were all right. They took injuries.
No, that's not how you sold it, Vince. You were like, man, I got the inside.
I didn't know about the injuries.
I didn't know about the boys, man.
I didn't know about the injuries.
Don't know about it. They got these guys, man.
Hey, I didn't know about the injuries at that time.
This is ready to launch. I'm telling you.
Well, you're supposed to have inside. If you have inside information, you're supposed to have it all, not just part of the information. I mean, they could have Dak Prescott on their team, but if he's injured, they ain't gonna help their team.
This is ready to launch 1, 2, 3 countdown.
I want Athens to win the district now. Come on, Athens. Win out. Shock everybody.
Speaking of district, Chapel Hill got on the winning track in district, got off to a good start not off to a good start in the game as they trailed 21-7 at halftime. Kind of a deja vu of last year's game, but they were able to right the ship, got a good pep talk at halftime, came out, scored 35 unanswered points, and beat Palestine 42-21. Everybody had Chapel Hill. I know y'all got a few thoughts on that one.
Whenever I told y'all, of course, privately, we talked about it at the pregame show as well, I had it tabbed as 3 games we wanted to watch for Chapel Hill this season. First game against Gilmer, that game against Palestine, and last one against Lindale. That's going to determine the season. They didn't play well against Gilmer. Turnovers, blah, blah, blah. They didn't play well the first half against Palestine. And then they turned it on. And I know he's saying about, so I don't care about the starters being out. It's week 6 or week 7 in whatever start of the season. Everybody needs to step up. If you're better than that team, you're just better than that team. So everybody's holding the rope. You ready to go. You be ready to play. And, they didn't perform very well in the first half. Second half, they came out, brand new different team. They started scoring on offense, and they dominated.
Well, they went to they went to their bread and butter and went to put the ball on the ground and put the ball in Ricky Stewart's hands, and he ate them up. And then Brisbane got away, and the two of those guys, the Russian stats were pretty nasty. I mean, they didn't even have to.
Yeah, defense didn't give up a point in the second half. That to me is the big one. Like you had two defensive touchdowns. And maybe those guys come back in the game. But if three guys impacted your defense that much, the guys behind those guys that sub, you need to rethink how you work. Because if that's the case, then we got a problem.
Yeah, because if somebody goes down,
those guys are premier all-state players, and those guys are D1 athletes, and they go in the, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you got to hold them, especially against a lesser opponent like that. You come in and down. This how you take minutes away from people. Just saying.
Yeah, game 6. Everybody had Troop in that one. I believe it was Quitman, Troop over Quitman. They pretty much blew them out. And then game 7, we all had Kilgore over Jacksonville. They just put the nails on Jacksonville. I kind of watched some of that game, and they're starting to roll here. This game that we're going to talk about later with Kilgore and Lindale, man, it's going to be a good one. Game 8, we had
Mm-mm.
Oh no.
Mm-mm. Locked up. Man. He gone.
Oh man.
He gone.
What do you have with the last week?
It was Wascom and let me see. Pull it up real quick. Wascom and is he talking about Wascom and Queen City? Is that the game? No, that's not. That's the wrong game.
Say Wascom and Legion Fields.
Legion Fields, yeah. I was looking at the wrong game.
And Wascom beat Legion Fields that day. That game.
Who score? Oh, I see it. 33-6.
Yeah.
I think wait, no. Did I pick? I may have picked the Legion Fields in that game. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, Wascom over Legion Fields.
Oh, excuse me.
And of course, not Marshall Baptist, but Troop over Quitman.
Oh, there we are. Sorry, guys. Good old Suddenlink decided to reboot my router or my modem. So yeah. Well, it's Optimum now. Somebody works for them. I feel like I should be able to get some good connection by now, but I just can't. I don't know. I don't know how to get that inside connection to give me a good connection. So sorry about that. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us. As I had that, I was just having to wait here as everything reboots. But what's the last thing y'all heard me say? I don't know when I lost y'all really.
Wascom and Legion Fields, but
Joaquin and Garrison. Is that what we're talking about? That one yet?
No, not yet.
We hadn't. Yeah, well, that's the one after Kilgore. That was what I was talking.
Oh, I thought you were saying Wascom. I'm sorry.
No, Joaquin. Joaquin over Garrison. But I was basically going as Joaquin's kind of that next level. You got Timpson up there, Terry Bussey and crew up there, and you got Joaquin's, step down a few, and then you got Joaquin, and then everybody else looks like going to be in that district. Because we thought Garrison might be there, but Joaquin kind of handled them pretty easily. I think Corey, you had Garrison. Were you surprised at this outcome?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought Garrison was going to pull it out, but hey, I'll take it, L.
All right, and then what about the next one, Corey? You just kill Winona and ARP. You had Winona. The ARP Tigers. The ARP Tigers put it on them. You were the only one with Winona.
Explain.
I thought Winona was going to win. Explanation complete.
That's what.
Well,
I think you forgot to tell them to show up, Corey. Hey, ARP was up 25-0 at half, and they put it on.
Shout out to Snake Dog for putting on a good game plan, blowing them out. That's that win number 2 for the year.
Yeah, never go against Schmink Dog, Corey.
Especially in district time. It's time to show up. They still make the playoffs.
And then the game of the week, game 10. Corey, I'm gonna let you do a little bragging here, Corey. Corey was the only one that picked Rusk over center. Shout out to Corey. I give you your props. You picked that one. Here's your chance to talk about Rusk. Go ahead, Corey.
Nothing to gloat about. Russ won. Solid. Hey, victory and defeat.
It was a good game. It was a good game.
Good game. I did all my bragging on Friday. That's all it was.
It's okay.
If you watch the Wide Right show, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Wide right. Yes.
It's really hard to say. Wide right. Wide right. There you go.
But then it is, but you don't forget it, Corey. That's the main thing. You don't forget the Wide Right Scoreboard show. But yeah, that's kind of how the games went this week. This week is definitely going to be a lot harder. We had a lot of ties. You had, again, shout out to Vince and Robert for getting the 8. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 of us with 7, and then 2 of us with 6. So it was all pretty close, just because of a lot of the buys and teams with not having district going on. We had a lot of, I wouldn't say easy games, but games we were pretty sure about our picks on. So it showed this week. This week's going to be tough, as we'll get to that here shortly. But let's move right along, and let's go to our polls, fellas. It's poll time.
Okay.
Of course, the 6A, 5A poll, we'll start with it. Not much change at the top. We still have Longview at 1, Texas High at 2, and Lufkin at 3. Hallsville does move up to number 4, jump 2 spots. Marshall now at 5, White House 6, Lancaster 7, Legacy 8, Mount Pleasant 9, and Nacogdoches at 10, with Pine Tree and Tyler High not in the rankings this week. Any thoughts on that, Phyllis?
Nah.
Just sad.
Nothing surprised. Is it the Tyler High thing? Is that what you're referring to?
Sad, man. Sad.
Well, we had them season 3rd, and they've dropped out of the polls. And you've got a team like NAC in the polls, Mount Pleasant. I mean, it just shows what we kind of think about them at this point. But it's not going to take much. They just need to win a couple. They move right back up in there. But
make Tyler ball great again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got Tyler High going up against Forney. They still got Forney, Lancaster.
Yeah, that's this week. I believe they play Lancaster.
Yeah, and those 3 games are ridiculous. And then North Mesquite, maybe? I don't know. It might not be North Mesquite, but I feel like that's the 4th game that they have. But I mean, there's a potential for them to lose those top 3 easily. Because all 3 of those teams that I just named up front are doing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I still stand by what I believe in. Anybody that suits up and steps on that field can be beat. But man, you have to figure some things out. Because Tyler High, I feel like it's more of a. I feel like they haven't bought in to the formula, to the. I don't want to say the coaching. It's not that. I don't think they bought into the season. I almost feel like because they lost a couple of games, that they may have mentally checked out.
That's
the thing I always talk about. It's like, man, you got to make sure you keep these kids' attention, man, because once they mentally gone, they just suit up every day. But they ain't here to play.
Winning
no more. They don't care to play no more. They quit every time they go down. Now if they up, yeah, of course everybody's screaming and hollering and riling up the crowd and all of that nonsense. That ain't nothing. But what are you doing when you down?
Yeah.
Winning and losing.
Hey, and Vince, I'm gonna let you fix your sound's kind of choppy. I'm gonna let you fix that for a second. Corey, no surprises there for me. I think the top ones are pretty much kind of established themselves there right now with Texas I Longview. Even Lufkin, they lost to Forney there, I think, but I still think I think they're still solid. Of course, Hallsville and Marshall, I think they're right there. That with that district being wide open as far as making the playoffs. It's Texas High.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is now Nacogdoches has a chance to make the playoffs. So they're taking 4 teams, and it's Hallsville, Marshall, White House, and Nacogdoches. Then that's the battle for the top 3 seed or the next 3 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a bad district, but it's going to be fun. Gonna come out.
We got you normal back, Vince.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh yeah, it's better. That's better.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You sounded kind of robotic-ish for a while there.
Oh, okay.
So you sound better. Okay,
yeah.
So we're gonna move on to 4A. We got kind of the same feel as the 5A 6A. You've got some established 3 here, with Carthage, Gilmer, and Pleasant Grove kind of established themselves as the top 3. So they go 1, 2, 3 again this week. Kilgore's jumped up to number 4 in the poll with their 4-2 record, and Lindale and Chapel Hill follow them at 5 and 6. Center is now at 7, tied with Sulphur Springs there, the 7th spot. Rusk at 9, and Liberty Ilo at 10. Now, I'm a little surprised on how it shook out there. I know Corey's going to have something to say about that after Center just got beat by Rusk, and they're above them in the poll. And I'll tell you why they're above them in the poll. So Vince did not give Rusk a vote this week, Corey, at all. And he had Center at 3. So I'm going to let y'all discuss that.
Ain't nothing to discuss.
Being disrespectful.
Ain't being disrespectful. You got all these teams. Everybody look good. I just made a choice, and I stuck by it. That's it. That's all I did. I made a choice, and I stuck with it.
So
it's what it is.
So you went with then they asked Vince. You went with Center at 3. They just lost to Rusk. So, and then you didn't even give Rusk a vote. So I just wonder how what was your logic there?
Mistakes happen.
One game ain't gonna jump you that many spots.
Well, Rusk is 5 and 1. They only lost 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
The only game they lost was to Alvarado.
All right.
And Center's lost 2 games. So
okay, but who was that game lost to?
That's a good question. Well, one of them Rusk.
One of them Mr. Rusk, obviously. Yeah. And
I don't know who the other one was to off the top of my head.
All right, let me pull it
and
up.
Look that up. But I kind of think, and this was kind of me, Kilgore, Lindale, Chapel Hill it's gonna work itself out. Okay, over the next couple of weeks, Lindale's got back-to-back games with Kilgore and Chapel Hill. Then the Kilgore Chapel Hill game will end the district season. So all 3 of those, that's going to work itself out, and we'll know who's above. And I don't think right now, unless something crazy happens, I don't see Kilgore, Lindale, or Chapel Hill leapfrogging any of those other 3 right now, just because they've been so solid. Now, if something happens and Carthage some reason loses 2 or 3 games, I don't see it happening, but they could. Corey thinks that Rusk and Center are both going to beat Carthage. I know he's already said both of those teams.
One of the other, well, they're gonna get it up. So one of the others gonna get it upset. And it might be Center, but that.
So it could happen that they slip. This week we've got Gilmer and Pleasant Grove playing this week, and we'll talk about that one here in a little bit when we talk about our picks. But that's going to be a really good one. Also getting votes. Van got a vote. Kaufman's a surprise to me that they didn't at least crack the polls. I think they're pretty solid. They've got a win over Lindale, which is in the poll. They've only lost the one game. Yeah. So I think they're solid. I mean, it is hard to get everybody in. I have a question for you, Corey. Jacksonville made your top 10 at 2-4 with all these other teams. What do you see in Jacksonville that, I mean, I know they just got demolished by Kilgore. Is there something in particular reason why you went with them at 10? I'm just curious.
It could very well be the fourth team. I didn't add Kaufman in my mix.
Okay.
I'm not putting to school.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I think Jacksonville could eventually end up being the fourth seed.
Okay. Well, that's a fair answer. I think I was right there. I had Center as my 10th spot. And then, of course, Kaufman that you ought to have. So, other than that, we pretty much had similar polls. I think some of us had Lindale and Chapel Hill, Kilgore. I mean, it's all your opinion right now because they haven't played each other of how they rank. I think I had Chapel Hill higher than y'all did. But I had Kilgore, Chapel Hill, Lindale all together, and we pretty much all did. I think we all had them kind of grouped in that one bunch because right now we just don't know. I mean, it's going to work its way out, but we don't know at this point. Now, the interesting one, we kind of come down to 3A, 2A. This is always an interesting poll because there's just so many teams. I mean, you got so many good teams in this deal in this area. I mean, although we're contending to all pretty much all consensus, Timpson's number one again. That's pretty. I don't think they're going anywhere unless they were to slip up at some point. But I think they pretty much got a solid lock on number one. We got it number 2 this week, Carlisle. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. I apologize, as that is not correct, as I did not resort these teams. So give me a second here. It's going to be actually Mount Vernon at 2. And number 3 is going to be Winsboro. And 4 is going to be Malakoff.
That's where already number 3.
Well, they are 6-0. They are 6-0.
Okay. All right. Keep disrespecting.
I mean, it's really close. They're all 1 point though. So Mount Vernon had 24 points, Winsboro 23, and Malakoff 22. So it's all very close. Down at number 5 is going to be Carlisle. They dropped a few, and it's not that they haven't done anything. It's just these other teams around them are playing really well. Of course, the Mount Vernon Winsboro game will work itself out this week. We'll know kind of where those teams are after this week. Then we got Edgewood at 6, Beckville at 7, and then new into the poll this week we have Cooper at number 8. So Cooper at 6-0 has cracked the top 10 for the first time this season. Shout out to Cooper. At number 9 is Dangerfield, and at number 10 is going to be. Sorry, I thought I had done this. It's been a long week for me, but I thought I had sorted these. Didn't get this one, I guess. We got a tie for 10th. Jefferson and Troop at 10. Any thoughts on any of those fellas?
Cooper coming in.
I didn't put Dangerfield in mine.
See, disrespectful.
Yeah, you didn't have Dangerfield. Let's see. I had Cooper, and so did Vince. Corey did not have Cooper. I had Beckville. I had Beckville at 6, and so did Vince. Corey has them a little lower. I mean, we all almost have the same teams. There's just a few mixed. I really think, and here's the funny thing, and I don't know if y'all looked at the state poll. West Rusk is still ranked in the top 10 of the state. You think I think they're like 7 or 8 or something.
They believe,
but they're not. But they're not in the top 10 of our poll.
Maybe we know something they don't know.
I don't know. But again, they haven't played Troop. They haven't played Edgewood. They haven't played Grand Saline. They have a chance. If they sweep those 3, they'll be up. They'll move up. So they've got a chance to move up in the poll. That just shows how deep this poll is. I mean, you're talking, you got 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, 5-1, 5-0, 5-1, 5-1, 6-0, 3-2, 3-2, 4-1. So I mean, you got, a lot of dubs there. So, yeah, it's tough. Is anything? I mean, besides the Cooper win, Corey, you got anything else that sticks out there to you?
Honestly, the top 4 teams are interchangeable. Well, the second and third and fourth teams are interchangeable.
Yeah.
So, that's all I'm saying.
I feel like that whole group could be interchangeable.
That's kind of how we voted.
Ain't nobody beating Simpson at this point. Not in that area. No.
Not for a while. They've got until probably the third round. They're probably going to be blowing folks out. They're going to be, playing 2 to 3 quarters and then kind of cruising home, I imagine. So, but yeah, I think that I enjoy this poll, I think, more than any of the other ones, just because these little schools, there's a lot of them and they're so good. I mean, the 4A one's good too, but this 3A, 2A poll, man, there's some chances for some teams to make some really good runs. And it's not your normal, like you're always going to have your Carthages, your Gilmers, your Pleasant Grove, those kind of schools making runs in the bigger classifications, your Longview, Lufkin, Kilgore, Lindale, Chapel. But there's some really good schools in this area. And there's going to be some good games here over the next few weeks. Yeah. And speaking of good games, y'all want to pick some games?
Let's go. Let's lock it, man.
All right, so let's pick some games. So we had some really good games this week. This was probably the toughest week for me when I went through and to find. First off, it was tough to pick the game of the week. We could have had, there's about 4 or 5 games this week that could have been the game of the week of any other week, but not this week was tough. And so overall, I think this one was one of the hardest. Not only the games to pick were hard, but just picking the actual who's going to win was hard.
We're undefeated this week.
You're going undefeated this week.
10-0. 10-0.
10-0.
I got close.
Okay. All right. Hey, nothing wrong with being positive, Corey. I hope you picked the same ones that I did, because I think I'm going 10-0.
Okay.
Let's go first off. Grand Saline ARP. My brain and my heart picked 2 different ones this week. My heart is with Coach Schminke. I hope they pull this one out since we all picked Grand Saline. Is it just the fact that they just beat Edgewood? Is anybody else argument other than that? Like I don't know much about Grand Saline. Said I saw they beat Edgewood. I'm like, they're for real.
If ARP ends up winning this game when I pick Grand Saline anyway, if ARP ends up winning this game, I might just wear a cowboy hat.
Oh,
I'm not doing that. I ain't never gonna do that. But okay, go ahead. That's all you.
I said Mike.
That's all you.
I said Mike.
He might. How about a Cooper Rush jersey?
Absolutely not. You're going too far. You're going too far, man.
I'm kind of hoping Dak rests for a few more weeks myself, but Cooper's doing fine right now, just doing his thing, protecting the ball. So I'm okay with that. Next up on the list, we kind of mentioned this game earlier, a game that Tyler High has to prove. They're playing Lancaster. I don't see things changing around for Tyler High at this point.
We shouldn't have put that up there.
Well, I'll
be a mess.
I was trying to give them a chance.
I hate that for them, man. But I like when I looked at that, I was like, man, this is
I saw that one
this
too.
is
Like,
about to be bad, bro. Like, and this ain't even the worst of the worst.
I'm
This
talking about-
To be fair, I got to a certain point and it was hard to pick. The games were harder to pick.
yeah. No,
So I was trying to give Tyler High some love, give them a chance. We're putting them back in the
because we ain't had them up here for a while, huh?
They've been kind of off the pick 'em line.
Yeah.
We're bringing them back in and give them a chance. Prove me wrong, Tyler High. I want to be wrong this week. If you win, that would be great. Okay, but I'm going with Lancaster. Just
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thoughts, Corey?
Now Lancaster. No. Now, but 5 to 6 TDs.
It's like he had to think about it for a second. No, it just ain't gonna happen.
No. I'm like, how many TDs you want to put up? Like 5, 6?
Yeah.
No, it's not really close.
All right, we'll go on to the next one. Big Sandy, Frankston. A couple schools we hadn't really had games picked on this week, but I went with Frankston, guys.
Frankston.
Oh, excuse me. I think I went with Frankston too on that one.
Frankston.
Yeah,
I think I picked Big Sandy at first, and then I went back and I was like, no.
I had to go do some research with this one.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah,
Frank.
And see, I tried. I mean, I try to include all our schools so that we get some games in for each school, and so we hadn't had either one of these teams on. It looked like it would be a decent game. So, but I also went with Frankston. The next one, Longview Forney. I went with Longview, but I wanted to put this game on there for one. We like to include Longview. I know they're kind of favored in every game, but Forney beat Lufkin by a pretty good margin. So want to see what Forney has.
How big Longview beat Lufkin?
I picked Longview. I picked Longview, and then I thought about something. I said if Longview was gonna lose any game this year, it would be this one. They edged out that one in Lancaster. They dodged the bullet with Lancaster. You know what I'm saying? Like if they was gonna lose one, if they was gonna lose, Forney ain't no slouch.
I'm not saying they're slouch.
Like if they gonna lose one, it would be this one. They come in a little cocky. They come in like they gonna do something and get caught early, and Forney just ride it out. But I still went with Longview. Don't get me wrong, I still went with them because I'm going with the safe bet there.
All right. The next one's going to be a good one. I think it could be quietly one of the better games in the area this week. Troop Edgewood.
Troop and Edgewood. Okay.
I mean, Troop, coming in, they've only lost one game. It was the game that Trey Davis got injured, didn't finish the game. It was a Carlisle game. They're just kind of quietly trucking along. And Edgewood, of course, coming off their first loss last week. But I went with Troop, guys. I went with the Troop Tigers.
Troop Tigers. The Troop Tigers.
I went with Edgewood.
This guy.
Okay. I went with Edgewood.
Okay.
I did. A friend of mine, her kid.
Oh, here we go. Hold on. Here we go.
Listen. No, it ain't nothing like that. It ain't nothing like that.
A friend of mine, she told me they got this guy and this guy and this guy.
Her child plays.
Are they injured this week, Vince?
Ain't nobody injured.
Okay. So just checking.
Don't worry, because when Edgewood win this game by 3 touchdowns, I'll remind y'all of that energy y'all putting out right now.
That's fine. I'll take it. Listen, I can.
Somebody said when they're gonna score 6 touchdowns.
That's me.
When I know somebody, it's different for me. It's a different. It's not just my own opinion and what I think based off of looking at paperwork. I get to hear it from somebody. So they made me. You said I'm a good salesman. They were a good salesman. They kind of sold me on Edgewood. I was like, okay, cool.
Okay. No, you're going. I'm gonna applaud you. You win this game. I'll give you your props. I'm gonna give y'all a hard time.
It's gonna be a good game, regardless. To be honest with you,
if I lose, I'm a good sport about it. I'll let y'all get on me and rag on me. It's fine. I don't mind that. I'll take it.
I mean, I could see Troop winning. Don't get me wrong. I could see Troop winning this game, but I just went with what who I know. If one of y'all had
that's going to be a really good district. Like that's a dog fight between
it is.
between those 4 or
It
5
is.
schools. If Art can somehow get in it and win this week, maybe against Grand Saline and shock people. But you got Grand Saline, who's just beat Edgewood. You got Edgewood in there. You've got Troop and West Rusk, which we're low. We're low on West Rusk right now, but they roll off 2 or 3 wins against those teams, and that the state expects them to win. And that's just a really good district.
Greasing somebody's pocket up there in Austin or in Houston, whatever. Yeah, some like anyway. Yeah.
What's the next game?
Next game, another big one. Rusk and Van.
Y'all know what I'm going with.
I know you're going with the Eagles, Corey. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Who do I end up? I'm also going with Russ this week, Corey.
No, Vince going with.
Who you got, Vince?
I got Van.
Oh man. It seems like it's me and Corey against Vince this week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you this. This is gonna tell me about Van. If Russ beats them handedly, that'll tell me everything I need to know about both teams. And I mean handedly at least by 2 touchdowns.
Do you think it's gonna happen like that? Is that what you think is gonna happen?
Yeah.
At least it would be a good game. You think Van that bad?
Okay.
I think Van is not as good as we think, and I think Rusk is better than we think.
I've never been real high on Van, honestly. Seeing them live against Chapel Hill and all the mistakes and stuff that Chapel Hill gave them that had a little zebra help, in my opinion, and they still barely won against Chapel Hill. I just wasn't all that impressed. I think they're a solid team, but I think they're the 4th team in that district. I think I think they're 4th. I think they're behind Center, Rusk, and Carthage, my opinion.
Mind you, I picked Chapel Hill district, and I said they would probably be 8-2. I just can't do
in my opinion,
that's that game.
I think when you look at the game against Chapel Hill, that was the 2nd week of the year. Everybody's still knocking off Russ. So I'm not going to hold it against nobody. But at the end of the day, they didn't take an L. They won. So if anything, that says more about Chapel Hill than it does Van. So if you think Van is bad, then what does that really mean you think about Chapel Hill?
Well, Chapel Hill just played terrible. There's a difference.
So why can't Van play terrible?
They haven't been good.
You see what I'm saying?
They're like solid. Van is a solid
playing
team
on a fair ground here.
But they didn't make any mistakes. They played pretty well. I mean, they took advantage of when Chapel Hill fumbled inside the 5. They punched it in. They just play solid.
What do your eyes tell you? Did the Van team look like a team that dominated Chapel Hill? Or did that Van team?
I don't think you have to dominate though. That's the thing. I don't think you
Chapel
have to
Hill. Chapel Hill gave them the game.
I just think that you have to. I think you have to.
That's the biggest win they've had this year.
You just every game is a battle. You're never going to go into a game and just unless you Carthage, you're never gonna go into a game and win every drive, every play. You just don't do that, right? This is why, like when Chapel Hill played Palestine, I wasn't so concerned about the first half because I was just like, well, still. I take a shot. What did I say? Whole another half to play. I wasn't complaining or nothing. I didn't say anything. I was just waiting on the second half. But a game is a battle, and there ain't no wars won without taking some losses. You're gonna lose some men, and so if I really bang on Van for winning a game that you feel like Chapel Hill gave them, then again, I have to look at Chapel Hill and say, well, why did they give them that game? Do I still get the chance? Do I still think of them that highly? Honestly, I think when I think of that game, I think I saw 2 teams who were both really good, who were just trying to figure out what this season is going to be for them, what it was going to look like for them. Again, we played Gilmer, and Gilmer didn't even look that great at first. Gilmer couldn't move the ball, but as the season went on, they got better. But who you are in week 1 ain't gonna be who you are in week 8.
What do your eyes tell? I know what you see in the game. What do your eyes tell you?
So with that being said, I'm not I don't think Van is bad yet. That's
think
all I'm
they're
saying.
bad.
I don't think that they're great. I'm not putting them on a pedestal, but I don't think that they're bad either.
Nobody said they were bad.
I think they're a well-coached football team. They control the clock.
They're
They're
solid.
well-coached. They're solid. Do I think they're game busters? Do I think they're ranked in the state? Maybe not this year. No, not at all. I think that game, I think it was more of Chapel Hill losing against Van, a well-coached Van team. They know how to win football games. They won the football game. They executed, and they made sure they didn't score off the turnovers. They made sure they did that. They ran the ball well. Got you. Fine.
But I'm saying I get that. I hear that. But what I'm asking though, what do you think about them today? Because that was weeks ago. What do you think about them today?
No. I think Chapel Hill's gotten better. I think Van's the same team.
Okay.
I think they know their limitations. I think they run what they run.
They might be. I don't know. But
they're one of those. Van's one of those teams. They're not going to beat themselves. They'll be in the game if you give them the opportunity. Like if Russ goes in and McCown throws 3 picks or they fumble a few times, I think Van can win the game.
If Van has a lead, they're hardly going to give up the lead.
Mm-hmm. I think if Russ goes in, protects the ball, does what they've been doing the last few weeks, they could win by a couple of touchdowns.
Okay.
So that's just from what I've seen. Game 7, Chapel Hill at Jacksonville. For the first time this matchup has happened since 1999. Yes, I said 1999.
Wait a minute. No. That can't be right.
Yeah. 23 years since this happened.
We played my senior year in high school.
No, y'all didn't.
No, because y'all were 3A then. Vince.
No,
where you dropped down.
No, that was Corey and them. I was 4A.
Yeah.
They dropped down after I left.
That's the fact that I was given. That was been since 1999.
Actually,
Chapel Hill and Jacksonville were in the same district in football.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's wrong. We were in the same district my senior year.
So maybe it wasn't as long. It's been either way. It's been a long time.
years,
20 years, 23 years.
It's been over 20 years.
A long time. A long time coming, and Corey is excited about it.
I am praying that everyone is safe. And first and foremost, I'm praying everyone is safe. I hope no one gets robbed on either side. I hope no one. Listen, if y'all don't know, there's a dirty history. There's a bad history between Chapel Hill and Jacksonville. And I know White House is our rival, and it is not a friendly rival. Period. Point blank. And I've seen some things on the basketball
but you know what? It may have changed.
I hope it has changed. I really do hope it has. I hope it's changed. And because the state, I don't know if the state knows anything about it, but we know, we lived through it. And
I get grief from my wife every time I mention, Chapel. I mean, we'd go in and the Jacksonville fans, they had on the wrong color of clothes. They didn't have their school colors on. They had some other colors on. She like, no, I never had. I was like, yeah, it happened. It did. It happened. They followed our bus. They followed our bus to the McDonald's.
I'm not gonna hold on to none of that stuff.
That happened. You weren't there, Vince. I was scared for my life as a youngster.
I will say.
Oh man.
Corey knows, he was there with us.
Oh, I remember that night.
That was the.
Of course, that might not have been as bad as the Palestine where we got all our clothes stolen, and Ken Warren had to go home in some Palestine apparel because he got his clothes stolen. That was pretty bad too.
They stole. They got onto the girls, the cheerleaders, school bus, and they stole all their purses and stuff. I think that was my senior year.
Yeah,
it was either senior or junior year. I can't remember. I think that we were in Jacksonville that year.
That was your senior year. That's the last I remember playing them.
I remember when we was getting on the bus, man, them girls were boo-hooing. And I was just like, man, what happened? And Coach told us, and it was like, we got to get out of here.
Either way, there will be a game this Friday night. It will be on Texan. It will be on Texan Live. Logan and I will be on the call.
They are going to play.
If you're looking for the link, go to netsn.live, our website, and at the top, just click on the Texan Live link.
I'm gonna tell y'all this. It will be standing room only.
It will be crowded.
For no
will be-
reason. It will be standing room only.
I ain't gonna be there. I'm gonna watch that from a distance.
They'll be
I'm
You're
watching that
not
from a
gonna
distance.
join me this week, Vince?
Nope. Nah, I ain't going to that game.
ain't going to that game.
Hey,
Not that one.
the thing is, I talked to Aaron Swink. Shout out to Aaron. He does the games for Jacksonville on their channel, and the visitors press box is where we will be. We won't be on the Jacksonville side and their fancy one. They've redone the visitors press box, so that's where we'll set up and do our game. So
yeah,
we won't have to intermingle with the Jacksonvillians, I guess.
Okay.
But speaking of that, I'm assuming y'all got the hill this week, not the Ville, the hill.
The hill.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Their press box is really nice.
Stadium's
Yeah.
nice.
The stadium is nice.
Yeah.
Come
It's
on,
nice to have a
Captain, let's
nice.
do something.
It's a nice to have a nice stadium, but the lights
And
work.
We hadn't won there in a
Come on.
long time. I don't think that I could ever recall us beating Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Let's
start-
rewrite the
No,
history.
I don't remember that.
Let's start a new tradition.
Exactly. Let's
remember
start a
that.
better tradition than we have. Maybe we can win some in football and basketball. Do something.
Yeah. All right, these last three are monumental games. Any of these three probably could have been the game of the week. Kind of what I was talking about. Game 8, Kilgore Lindale. I went back and forth on this one, guys. I'll be honest. I
did too.
They've both looked pretty good over the last couple of weeks. But I just Kilgore looks so solid and just demolished Jacksonville. I saw him last time. So I went with Kilgore.
Go for show.
My first select, I clicked Lindale. I'm like, Lindale's dangerous. And
Man,
they are. And they are.
Because if they get rolling, they're going to drop 50 on you.
But
They're going to drop a 50 burger on you real easy.
Kilgore is, over the last few weeks, have just looked really good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he had Jacksonville put a win on Palestine. Was it Athens? Jacksonville, the Athens first game. And I was like, okay, Jacksonville. And then Kilgore made them look like a JV squad.
Did they score? They didn't even score, did they?
They had
Or did
7. They scored
They had
7, I
Okay.
believe. And they've got Pleasant Grove's defensive coordinator as their coach. And that defense, man. So I just felt like that Kilgore right now is, if I was picking, I have to go with them.
Kilgore for show.
Corey, you got
I ain't gonna
Kilgore.
lie. I basically just took a guess at it because I wanted to pick Lindale too at first, but Kilgore and the way they did Jacksonville just made me think
You're the
that
dog.
defense is gonna slow them down.
Eagles not gonna do it. You're the dogs this year.
Yeah.
But I'll say if Lindale runs up the score, they may not be able to chase after him.
They're not gonna run up that score. They're not gonna run up that score.
I will say this. If one team can get ahead by a couple of touchdowns, it's going to be tough for the other one to catch because they like the ground and pound. Okay. And we talked, and Kyle mentioned that about Lindale. They pass just to kind of every once in a while throw you off. They're not going to throw an aerial assault at you. So it's gonna be who can get command of the game first. And I'm gonna give that team the edge. If Kilgore does, and I think they've got a good shot of winning the game. If Lindale does, it's going to be tough for Kilgore because I just don't see them dropping back and passing. They're pretty much solid I formation running, or at least they have been for the last several years. So that's going to be a battle all game long, and I could see that one coming down to the end in the fourth quarter, being close very easily. Man, you go from that one, you're like, man, that's a great game. Then you go to Gilmer Pleasant Grove, guys. Man, I was torn on this one too. But it's hard to me, it was just hard to pick against Gilmer. I know Pleasant Grove was good, but Gilmer, they've got they're well-oiled machine, they're well coached. It's like, yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say this though. This will be the best team played thus far.
Oh, no question.
And
it'll be the best team they've played since Chapel Hill, probably.
Maybe since Lindale.
Because
Well,
they played
Lindale, they played some other teams, but of those two teams, I don't know how Lindale played. Of course, Chapel Hill gave them the game. Gilmer did. Gilmer could have.
7 game.
They didn't have
They-
to do a whole lot in that game.
They didn't have to do a whole lot, but we didn't help our case. They beat us. That's point blank and simple.
Well,
They
yeah.
took advantage.
Oh yeah, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying the game was still close in the second half, and Chapel Hill turned the ball over 7 times. That's really unheard of, especially against someone that as good as Gilmer. I would have if you'd have told me before the game Chapel Hill turns the ball over 7 times. What's the spread? I would have said probably 3, 4, 5 touchdowns at least. And it only ended up being that maybe 3, but it was at the end of the game. It wasn't – I mean, they were still in it. They had a chance still, even with that. So that's when I thought, okay, Gilmer might – but as the weeks have gone on, they continue to just beat people. Just do what Gilmer does, kind of the same thing as Carthage. Do what they do, and they just continue to win.
Stay the course. They
And I
know
think
it's winning
and
time.
so how can you pick against that? I know Pleasant Grove's good. Shout out to Eddie and I know he picked Pleasant Grove, I'm sure. And I don't know if we lost some of y'all in the chat because y'all have been quiet ever since we disconnected, but hopefully y'all are still able to. We're online, so you should be able to hear us, but we're not getting any chats. But shout out to Eddie, and good luck to Pleasant Grove. Because we love to support our listeners. I just think Gilmer right now, to me, they're the better team. Vince, did you tell us who you went with?
PG.
I know you said PG, Corey. Vince, who'd you go with?
I'm trying to remember. I think I was kind of conflicted on this too. I may have gone with PG. I really don't remember.
Let me see. You went with Gilmer.
I went with Gilmer. I know I kept switching it. I started this. It's why I can't remember, because by the time I got to that game, I was actually at work picking, and I just stopped. And I was like, you know what? I need to go do some homework real quick, and see what the records look like and stuff like that. And so it was probably like an 8-hour window between the time I started it and the time I finished it.
Yeah. Well, that was a tough one. I mean, I
ain't gonna lie. This is probably the hardest week I've had making picks.
This is some great games. This is some pre playoff matchups. Some matchups that might come back again later.
PG.
Possibly.
PG.
Okay. PG-13? Oh, just kidding.
That could.
All right. So, game of the week, fellas. And we talked about it a little bit with Kyle earlier. Winsboro, Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I went back and forth on this one too.
I did too.
I settled on Winsboro.
I went with Mount Vernon, and the reason I did is they've been there before.
Very true.
Winsboro proved me wrong, and I'll congratulate if you win. I'll congratulate you. I'll give you high ranks on the poll. But even though Mount Vernon has lost their quarterback, next man up. They're proven that they've been winning over the last few years, and Winsboro's just getting there. I think it's going to be a shootout, points all over the board. You got 2 great running backs going at each other. And then you've got the Winsboro just aerial assault. I mean, gosh, what do you say, 2,000 yards already? Second in the state?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, the second in the state in throwing.
I mean.
So what? All right, so let's do this. Blind resume. Continued success or new success? Which one do you go?
You go with the continued success.
Continued success. They know how to win football games.
And that's kind of why, as far as my picks went, that's kind of how I went with mine.
Mm-hmm.
The Lindale Kilgore, both of them had continued success. So that really didn't affect. That really wasn't. Kilgore has, but Lindale over the last few years, they've proven that they're in the 4A level. They're consistently very good. But that's kind of why.
You know how many times Kilgore's missed the playoffs in like
not often.
Years? Maybe once or twice.
And I did go with Kilgore.
It's not even consecutive years.
I know. But the main reason is Lindale, since they have dropped, they've been on the same kind of consistency as Kilgore. Okay. So that really didn't come into effect there. But that's why I went with Gilmer and I went with Mount Vernon. because of the pedigree they've got. Not necessarily that they're a better team this year. They may or may not be, but they know how to win, and they know how to win big games. This is a huge game for both teams. You don't want to end up in that second spot and get somebody that's better early. You want to be the winner of the district. And so I think this is going to be a great game. I'm jealous of those of you out there that are going to get to go to this game. So come on the Wide Right Scoreboard Show and keep us up to date. We want to know how those games. So all these games are going to come down to the wire. Get on and tell Corey, what's going on so that we can kind of keep everyone updated. Tweet at us, let us know.
Oh, if y'all didn't hear me, I'm picking Mount Vernon. I'm going Mount Vernon.
You are going Mount Vernon. Okay. Vince, did you?
All right. I said Winsboro.
Oh, you had Winsboro.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with those. I think this week of all weeks, I mean, it sounds like me and Corey versus Vince in a lot of these games. So, Vince, you're either going to be ahead or behind. I don't know how I feel about this.
I'm kind of. How far am I ahead of Corey though? I got some lead on Corey.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, and because Corey hasn't done so well, so I'm on the same team as Corey in a few of these, so I'm kind of concerned. I'm a little concerned.
I'll stand alone,
but I've got confidence in Corey that when he actually picks for real.
When he's serious.
So he's serious.
We don't know when he's serious, though. We don't never know.
We
think he's serious, and then the next week, Corey gonna come back and he gonna be like, "Well,
I'm hoping he is this week. I'm hoping he is this week.
Oh, nah, I'm gonna tell you.
If Corey does well, I'm gonna do well this week. If Corey doesn't do well this week, then I'm not gonna do well either. You
finna get sideshow Corey. That's what you finna get. Entertainment Corey. Yeah, he doing it for the views.
Well, yeah,
I'm winning this week.
And we'll talk about the views here. I got something to talk about that here in a minute, but yeah, that's all the picks we've got for tonight. Corey, for those that have been hiding under a rock somewhere, tell them about your show on Friday nights.
Then talk about Friday night, Right Scoreboard, your boy CM, doing things differently, talking sports, games. Definitely we'll be talking the Winsboro Mount Vernon game. And then of course the Rusk and Van game. If Vince is on, we're gonna have a nice little debate. We're gonna talk some football. We're gonna talk some football Friday for sure. And of course, Chapel Jacksonville game.
Hopefully, I'll have some good service so I can, we can talk about. I can get on there for a little bit. What's that?
They might just pull the internet out there.
Jackson. Oh, they better. Hey, I got a hot spot. Don't worry, I got a hot spot. I can just run. Hey, I can just run to my in-laws' house. They live about 5 minutes from the stadium, and I can use the internet. So but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk about a Bulldog victory. So. Speaking of the views, Corey, the Twitter challenge. Corey, you got some work to do. Vince made up more ground. He made some more ground up this week, and Vince is now at 191. Corey, you're still at the same 174 you were from last week. You need to
Vince Army. I told you about him. I told you about the Prince Vince Army. Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Okay.
So
for those who keep waving them off.
For those of you who don't know, they've got a contest going. So follow these guys on Twitter. See if you can help their cause. You got Corey and Vince is going head-to-head for the most followers. So go subscribe to their Twitter accounts. Again, I'll be at Jacksonville. I'll be at Jacksonville this Friday night. Chapel Hill at Jacksonville, 7:30. Texan Live. We'll be live on the call. The NETsn crew will be there and give you the good coverage. Again, if you can't find the game, just go to the netsn.live website, go up to the top for the Texan Live link, and it will take you directly to that. I'd like to thank LoneStarGridiron.com and all those guys out there for putting us on their website, a partner in their deal. So shout out to those guys. Follow Facebook, YouTube, NETsn Live. Give us some likes and subscribes, guys. That helps us out. Also, it will notify you when we go live. So anytime we have something going on, you'll be notified by it. Twitter account is at NETsn_live. Also, go check out our merch. NETsn Live /store. Get your hats now. again, we've got some more things coming hopefully soon with that. Guys, you want to tell them how they can follow you?
Follow me Twitter at your boy CM. Do it.
Don't follow CM. Don't follow CM. You come over and follow me. Yeah, we don't do no imitation duet on it. We don't do none of that. We don't do none of that.
What I do it.
All I need are soldiers. That's all I need are soldiers. Come follow me. Prince Vince 83. Prince Vince.
Don't follow him, follow me. Don't go to Twitter for him, go to Twitter for me.
Look at all that gimmick, all that nonsense, all that foolery. You don't want that.
Come on, man.
Well, thanks for LoneStarGridiron.com again. For Vince and Corey, I'm Brett. We'll catch you next time right here on the NETsn Weekly Wrap-Up Show. Good night, everyone.
Get out. The bridge is out. The bridge is out.
East Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at netsn.live.